Today I have another album review for you. It's for the band Horrendous, and the name of the album is Ontological Mysterium. Released on August 18th, 2023 through Season of Mist Records. This is a band that has been getting a lot of buzz lately, and it was also the second most requested album from the poll I put up. It's one of those albums that everyone is talking about, saying how crazy it is. So I'm going to talk about my thoughts on this. My first time listening to this band, and stick around to the end. I'm going to talk about a few more albums I listened to this weekend that just came out. The band is relatively new on the scene. They formed in 2009 by Damien Herring and Matt and Jamie Knox. They're brothers, along with bassist Alex Kulik, and he joined a little later in 2016. The first album was called The Chills. It was more of a traditional death metal album, but the subsequent albums moved towards progressive metal. A lot of people have been comparing them to the band Death. In my opinion, when I'm listening to this album, I did hear some elements of like Sound of Perseverance. That's the last Death album, but nonetheless, it is some heavy shit.
That's some heavy shit, man.
I listened to the singles first, and this was last Thursday, the day before the album came out. They released 3 singles, Precarious Hymn, Cult of Shaad'oah, and Ontological Mysterium, and I didn't really know what to make of them. I guess I was expecting more straightforward death metal, but they were kind of out there, so I didn't really know how to categorize this band at first. My first time listening to the album wasn't full on Friday while I was working, and I kind of had it in the background, so I thought it was pretty cool. Again, I didn't really know what to make of it. My second time listening to it was Saturday morning while I was just riding my stationary bike. I thought it would be a good album to do some exercise to, and that's when I started getting into it a little. I think at that point, it was kind of difficult for me to distinguish when one song stopped and the other one started. And it kind of felt like it was a prog album. So I think going forward, I'm going to be looking at this kind of like more like a prog album. I mean, they probably could have done something like Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick, made like 1 or 2 long tracks, and it wouldn't really made much of a difference. But I'll talk about that as I go through with it. And then when I listened to it the third time to prepare for the review, that's when I kind of like started to get into it a little more. And I think that's when like the songs themselves started like take a life of their own, and it didn't really seem like this one big clump of songs. So that's what I noticed. So let's talk about the tracks right now. The Blaze is the first song. It's only 2 minutes long, so it serves as an intro track. It sets the scene with sustained guitar chords and heavy distortion in the background. You can hear some demonic voices. Then in the second minute, it starts to sound more like melodic black metal with some harsher metal vocals. Crystopia, the Archaeology of Dawn, starts off like a very extreme thrash metal song with super fast gallops and complex guitar riffs. The drumming is super fast and intense, and the vocals are kind of mixed low, but they are very harsh and evil. I feel this song is leaning towards black metal with some of the guitar riffs, especially like that tremolo picking. Keep in mind, this is a 7-minute song, so they will be going through lots of changes throughout the entire song. The song also offers some audible bass guitar riffs. There's clean vocals sprinkled throughout, and there's a guitar solo. It kind of sounded like Pink Floyd. It had that like David Gilmour type of sound. Neon Leviathan starts off with this heavy drum and bass intro. It sounded kind of like surf music. The vocals were a little different this time. Everything was fast and intense. The vocals sounded very demonic. They were able to inject some melody into all this madness. There are a few seconds where they slow it down, and it almost sounds like they're going to play the funeral dirge, but they keep going with this craziness. Aurora Neotorica, it kind of sounds like a continuation of the last song. It's everything. It's slow, it's atmospheric, has the guitar sounding like an engine revving, played over some softer like Pink Floyd style guitar parts. And this is also a short track, about 2 minutes long. Preterition Hymn is one of the singles. The main guitar riff reminded me a little of Megadeth. There's this song Disconnect from The World Needs a Hero. It reminded me of that. The guitar riff is alternated with some heavy chords and black metal style vocals. The song then has some harmonized guitar parts. I would say this is one of the slower and doomier tracks with a lot of distortion and dissonance. They end the song with an acoustic passage and it leads to the next song. Cult of Shaad'oah is one of those songs where they start at a low volume and slowly increase it until it builds up to something. During the song, they play these heavy riffs and vocals come in and out of the song. Vocals are extremely evil sounding as well, and let me say, there's some cool drum fills mixed in here with some extreme speeds. Exogenous is pretty cool. It starts with these palm muted guitar riffs and some evil sounding vocals along with some additional electric guitar riffs. One of those songs that slowly builds up as you listen to it. The arrangement is very complex. It's somewhat of an instrumental if you don't count the faint demonic voices in the background. Sounds like those voices you hear when you play a record backwards. They're very distorted. Ontological Mysterium was one of the singles, and the opening guitar riff reminded me a little of the band Voivod with these complex sounds played on the high end of the neck. The song is pure madness. Like the other songs, there was a pretty cool part about 2.5 minutes in when they switch gears and they play some cool guitar solos. Death Knell Ringeth is the final song. This one gave me some Opeth vibes with some of the guitar playing. The vocals were still very harsh. They also had some cool thrash metal style guitar riffs mixed in. There was this cool breakdown about halfway through the song where they just play these palm muted guitar riffs. Then afterwards they just turn up the speed, and when the bell tolls, the album ends. So in conclusion, it's kind of a crazy album, I will admit. I'm not saying it's the greatest album ever. If you like extreme music or extreme metal, I think you can appreciate this. For me, I think it was a little overhyped. I think that's because I'm more accustomed to traditional heavy metal and those types of genres. I definitely enjoyed the Spirit Adrift album a lot more than this one, but I'm not saying it's bad. It's a good album if you're looking for something that's very out there and has a lot of complex stuff going on in between. For me, when it comes to extreme music, I would probably prefer the Zenith Passage with their album, That Elysium. That's just me, but I'll give it a score of an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good album. I think maybe other people might rank it higher, but that's what I give it, and let me know in the comments what you thought. As promised, here are some short reviews. The first one is Seeing Through Fire by Ringworm. This is one of those bands that some of the websites listed as like hardcore or metallic punk rock or metallic hardcore or something like that. I think, for me, it's just like thrash metal. That's what my impression was. I would compare them to a band like Power Trip or Enforced. It's heavy thrash. It's fast. The songs are energetic. It's a cool album if you're looking for a lot of energy and a lot of guitar riffs. The songs are pretty straightforward. They move at a fast speed. They have lots of heavy riffs, and it's also surprising this band has been around for a long time. The first album was released in 1993, so this is like a 30-year-old band. I think it's definitely worth it if you like thrash metal. I didn't really have time to do a full review of this, but I think I will be returning to it again. Next is Bees Made Honey in the Vein Tree. That's the name of the band, and the album is called Aeon, or something like that. This one caught my interest because I saw the description in the Encyclopedia of Italian website. It said psychedelic stoner doom, so I thought that was pretty cool. Then I started listening to it. It was very slow and atmospheric. It kind of like droned on for a long time, and the album was very long, about 80 minutes, so you have to be in this certain like state of mind when you listen to it. I think if you are into that, you like slow droning type of music and you just want to chill out in your house and sit back and turn off your mind and just take it all in, I think it's pretty cool. But if you're in the mood for some energetic metal, this is probably not the thing to listen to. But if you're looking for that, like, slow, atmospheric stuff, it's pretty cool, so check it out. And that is all. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like this video. It helps me with the algorithm. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out this video right here. It's some more heavy stuff or some death metal or whatever, and I will see you in the next one.